Let's go. Hello, good morning all, good day all, given that there are many time zones. Today is Thursday, April 28th, and we are meeting to have a recorded community meeting with the Kubernetes community. So the agenda today is having a demo of KPM, a package manager and deployment tool for Kubernetes. Clayton Coleman is going to be talking about the Protobuffer work that's going on. And then I have TJ Golterman set up to talk about the 1.3 key features update. And then we have an open spot for any SIG business. Nothing exciting scheduled up there yet, but if any of you in the special interest groups want to give updates, that would be great. And lastly, I need a volunteer note taker for the day. I know I ask this every week, but that's because we need one every week. So if somebody could volunteer and take notes, that would be fantastic. And we will start with Antoine Legrand showing us KPM. Are you ready, Antoine?
Yes, so let's share. Okay?
Fantastic.
Okay, so I will do a demo of KPM. So it's a tool we started 3 months ago to deploy our production application in. So we now put it open source, so because we think it can help the community to do the same. So it's a package and deploy manager. As I say, it's to operate deployments in production, and also there is a registry to share your application. Quickly, some feature that was important for us. So to be declarative and event potent, so we want to be able to deploy multiple times same package without breaking anything. Also, the fact that it's server-side, so everything has an API to build the package, to deploy, and so it's very useful to integrate KPM to a dashboard or a continuous integration tool. Also, of course, to manage and version our resources, application, like a set of resources. We wanted also a place to be able to share our packages, so either in a private registry or public registry. And one thing was a requirement for us is to be able to deploy easily clustered application like RabbitMQ, Elasticsearch, and today is quite a complex task to deploy such apps. So okay, I'm going to start the demo. So for the demo, I just take the resources of for Ghost of KPC from it keynote. So this is a blog engine. So first, to install a KPM, it's a Python tool. So you can just pipe install KPM to get started. That's all it takes. Then you have a command line with some commands, of course. So one of them, for example, is KPM list. By default, we host a public registry, so you can use the package from that. But as I say, you can connect to private one. So that, for example, you just put the address of your private registry. Okay. So let's see what a package looks like. It's pretty simple. It's just a directory with a manifest.yaml and a template directory where you put your resources. So for example, the config map, deployment service, etc. So as I said, as a directory suggests the name, you can put template values. And you put the default in the manifest. So let's see what the manifest looks like. It's also quite simple, just some metadata around your package. So the name of the package, a version, which is quite important. The default variables of your template. So a variable can include another variable, which is quite useful, for example, in this case. Another part is just the list of your resources that are in a template directory, but you can you can sort them, say in which order you want them to be deployed. And also you can add information to this resource. For example, we have a key protected. Just say to the KPM client, you can create this resource, but you're not authorized to delete it. So we just add an annotation on the resource to trigger that. So it's very useful to be able to to add some information around the resources. The last part is the dependencies. So for example, Ghost depend on MySQL, and you can just override the default variables quite easily like that. So when your package is ready, the only thing you have to do is to KPM, do the KPM push command, and it will just do a tarball of your package and send it to the registry of your choice. So if we list that, okay, we have the package we just push. So now to deploy it, it's very simple. It just KPM deploy the name of the package. You can select in which namespace you want to deploy it. And it will just query the API to get the package and the resources to deploy. And it will just deploy it with all the dependencies. So one thing is, for example, we have a colon status. So it's created. That's if we deploy it again, it will just detect that there is no change to do. So everything is green. It say, okay, I done nothing. So this is how we can just improve iteration of your application. For example, if we change a value in the manifest, let's say the ghost auth, which is going to change the config map. Okay, so we update the version, we push it again. So we have our new version available, so everyone can deploy it. And if we deploy it again in the same namespace, MySQL have no change, and in the Ghost package we have a change. So you see the config back have been updated. So you can very easily iterate your apps. You can also roll back to any previous state with the version. So you can put you can roll back or change the version number. Okay, so it's very easy to push. But what if you want to have some secrets? So I will show you something else. So I created an N31 private Ghost package where I want to put my secret. So I have an ingress with with some certificate TLS. So definitely you don't want that to go to the public space, right? So I create a package for that. So it just the resources, the secret, the ingress, then it depends on MySQL and Ghost. Okay, so I will push that in my private registry. KPM push. The same command, you just select the registry you want. And I have my private package here. So I'm going to try to deploy it. In the same namespace, and I just take that. Okay, so what is going to happen? It's even if the name of the package is different, okay, it's the N31 private Ghost, it will just detect that the resources are the same, so it will do nothing. So it's not about the package name that can collide, it's just about the resources. So it's pretty safe to deploy things with KPM. So also, if you notice, so we don't store the Ghost package in the private registry. So we have an idea from Brandon Philip from CoverOS to implement package discovery. So how it's work, it just say, okay, the package is not in my internal registry. So we prefix with a domain name. So we call kpm.sh to ask, hey, do you know where the Ghost package can be found? And if there is a reply, we use that registry. So I think it's very nice way to connect together different registry and use private and public ones. That's something I think can help to manage your private and public. Okay, so of course KPM can be used to deploy much more complex applications. So I can show you quickly my log platform. So this is already deployed, but this is Elk stack. So I use RabbitMQ as a broker. I deploy an Elasticsearch, some configuration, some daemon set, etc. Kibana. So you see, you can just manage quite complex deployment. And in such case, for example, if you want to upgrade only the Kibana it can be done very easily. We just say, okay, this is the resource to be updated. Okay, so I was talking about persistency and how to deploy also cluster application. So I think it's something also nice from KPM. I will show you. So I have a package named RabbitMQ, which is pretty basic. It has variables data volume. So by default, it's just mount an integer, which is just for demo. And what you want to, when you deploy some cluster application, you want to deploy different multiple times the replication controller, but with some variation to mount a different volume. So we added a key named sharded. So what is going to happen is we're going to create this resource a multiple time for each of the item in the shard list. So for example, if I do that, it will deploy two times the replication controller, replication controller 1 and replication controller 2. So let's try to deploy this package. So by default, it creates one node. That's all. Okay, I think we can connect to the interface. So that's the instance we just created. So you see here in green, we have one node. And I will show you how we can just scale that with KPM. So I have my personal configuration of RabbitMQ in N31, RabbitMQ 3 nodes. So this package is just a dependency list. We don't deploy resources from that package. So the manifest looks like that. We skip the first part for now. So I say, okay, I'm dependent on the RabbitMQ package. We just deploy. But instead of using one shard, I will go with 3 of them. So the name, you put the name we want, for example, hello community. And also, I don't want to use mtdir. This is not something you want for production. So I change the default variables with persistent volume claim. So of course, you have to deploy also your volume claim. So we have a package for that. And I say, okay, I will deploy 3 volume claim with that name. Also about this feature, each shard can have its own variables. So you can just tweak the variables you want. For example, if the last volume claim you want 50 gigabytes, you can just put like that. So you can just deploy a different node with different configuration. So again, KPM push this package, and I will deploy it. Well,
Antoine, can you wrap up in the next 2 or 3 minutes?
yeah, I will end up in the next minute.
Perfect, thanks.
So deploy the persistent volume claim, and as I say, we detect that we already have one node, and we just deploy the 2 other. That's how we can just scale, for example, RabbitMQ with KPM. Basically, that's all. So probably we get this updated now. Okay. So we want we use it. It's a side project, and we're looking for contribution and become more community project, because it's packaging are very easy to do and easy to share. So I know, for example, there is Sebastian from Skipbox may join the team out of K-Machine. So we're very much looking for feedbacks and just try KPM and just go back to us. And that's basically all for the demo.
Do we have any short questions, or people can reach out to Antoine through his Twitter? It looks like it's on this slide. No questions? Thank you, Antoine.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, happy to. It's always fun to see what people are doing with Kubernetes. Okay.
I just think it's really cool, and feel free to reach out later if you want to talk. This is Joe Vita.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so up next was something that we had to bump from last week. Clayton, I think I saw you earlier. Are you about to talk about Protobuf work?
Sure.
Perfect. Thanks.
So I'll keep this actually pretty fast. There's not a ton to say, but I want to make people aware just in general because we've sent a couple of email lists. And there's been an issue open for a very long time against Kubernetes where we've desired to add a Protobuf serialization to the API. That gives us some nice performance benefits. That's the primary goal of it is for internal use in the short term. So if people out there see this and they think, oh my gosh, you guys are generating IDLs and now I can go generate client objects against them, be a little cautious. We plan to evolve the serialization, and it's currently in experimental state, so we make no guarantees we won't break it or change it until it shows up in a proper beta form in a release. But underneath the covers, we have started to add this into the code path. So I just wanted to make sure that if people are contributing that and they hit something that is Protobuf related to open an issue and to CC the SIG API machinery list. We are hoping to turn this on fairly soon, in the next couple of weeks, but we're still in the process of finishing up some of the deliverables. So if anyone has any questions about it, the SIG API machinery call is where we're doing a lot of the discussion around this. And you can also find myself on Slack to discuss it if you have any questions or have any requirements for it that we may not have considered.
Cool.
That was it.
That's it? Awesome. Can I ask you, we don't have a note taker so far, so can I ask you to put your 3 or 4 bullet points into the notes then as well, Clayton?
Sure.
Thanks. Does anybody have any questions about Protobuf or what's going on with that work? Apparently no. Okay. Or you're on mute and we will move on and see what happens. All right, TJ, have you joined us?
Yes, I'm here.
Fantastic. Let's do the 1.3 key feature updates then. This might be a short meeting, although we're going to also have a late addition to the agenda about SIG-Openstack and the OpenStack Summit from EHOR.
Cool. So we sort of said that at the beginning of 1.3, we wanted to come back to the community meeting every couple of weeks as coding goes onwards and sort of sync back up as a group on the top several features. So I'm going to go over, I guess, the 4 highest profile features for 1.3 and let folks know where they are. A lot of the work for these is being done through SIGs. So if you've attended SIG meetings and you're on top of this, you probably know more than I do. But this is sort of the general update for the larger group. So first off, the first big feature is Kubernetes. And there was a big discussion in last week's SIG Federation meeting about the right scoping for 1.3. We're down to order 3.5, 4 weeks left of coding. And so a decision was made for 1.3. We'll get cross-cluster service discovery in. That looks more or less on track and like it will land. But the single pane view of multi-clusters is looking off track and has enough complications that it won't land for 1.3. That's not to say that a lot of work isn't happening. Lots of people are contributing and making progress there. It hasn't been dropped, but it doesn't look like it'll make it for 1.3. And so that was, for more details, talk to SIG Federation. And then I was actually talking with Quentin this morning, and he said that they held a hackathon just last night, US time, because some of the PRs had been slow to move across time zones and getting people to sync up and actually review each other's stuff. So they did sort of a in-person virtual hackathon and made a lot of good progress just last night. So that's great to hear that stuff is moving forward. So that is the sort of Kubernetes high level. The next one is PetSet. So PetSet is essentially on track for alpha. So the API group and the alpha resource PR is merged and in. The controller PR is in flight and being worked on. And the initialization containers proposal and code has consensus, and the code is just starting in flight. So that is moving along. Yes, David reminded me that the right way to describe PetSet is improve stateful application support. That's the much better customer-friendly way to describe it than PetSet or nominal services. So the third major thing is scaling. Clayton just gave an update about that. A big part of this is the move to Protobufs, and the initial work is in for that. The next steps are storing it in etcd as such, and I'm actually not sure if that is in or not, but it's in flight, and work on having the client libraries use that. There's also a handful of smaller fixes to improve scheduler throughput, communication between the API server and controllers. And the hope is that by next week, we can have sort of an end-to-end run using all this new Protobuf implementation and get new measurement numbers to see where we are and vet that has significantly improved things. So hopefully we'll have a lot more hard data next week. But otherwise, that is on track for the work that we had planned for 1.3. And then the last item is about distributed test and getting more and more of the test work out of Google and into the community and available for everybody. So there's a PR that is approaching approval for how people outside of Google can sort of bundle up and submit results to some sort of in a well-known format so that it can be displayed on the submit queue page. And so that proposal is getting towards approval. And a handful of things are happening within Google to make sure that we conform to that as well, and that we're publishing things to public GCS buckets and sort of all of the background work to make this federated. And if you notice, every couple days the submit queue gains another feature. There's been a lot of work on sort of analytics on how many PRs are emerging, which suites are up for what percentage of time, how bad the queue is versus how good the queue is. And so if you frequent that page, you'll see that changing every few days. And the next big step is all of that data goes away when we restart or deploy the submit queue site itself. And they're working on persisting that data so that we can start to look longer term at how the queue improves month over month, not just sort of since it was last started up. And so that is it for distributed tests. So those are sort of the major 4 updates for 1.3.
Fantastic. Does anybody have any questions on that or anything else we might put TJ on the spot on to get us answers about later? Nothing else about 1.3, really.
I don't know, just to call out that us actually deciding that we're cutting scope on something for 1.3 this early on is much, much better, I think, than where we were trying to triage scope out for 1.2. So thanks a ton, TJ. I super appreciate this.
Thank you. Yeah, totally agreed.
Fantastic. Anybody else? And we've got David kibitzing with product marketing. Cool. Okay. Up next is SIG business. So Ihor, are you on the line? I know you're still at OpenStack Summit, or you were the last time I crossed paths with you. He may not be able to have joined us. All right, well, I will give a very short update. There seems to be a lot of excitement. There was a great demo Tuesday, from the CoreOS team about running containerized OpenStack on top of Kubernetes. I think it, based on Twitter, it seems to have broken a lot of people's brains about how you might conceive of this. And I know that the OpenStack group has been working very carefully to tease apart the different ways OpenStack and Kubernetes can work together. And basically there are 3. One, which is a Kubernetes workload running on OpenStack as a first-class cloud provider for Kubernetes, and that's the easiest one, and it sounds as if that's the work that is going to happen within the Kubernetes SIG group here in the Kubernetes community, or Kubernetes OpenStack SIG group. There is work being done to containerize OpenStack to run it on top of Kubernetes, which is being done with the Kula group, and that their Kula project within OpenStack, and that work is probably going to live in the Kula OpenStack community and space. We'll write up, or you can look at the Google group about OpenStack, the OpenStack SIG, in order to find links to information about the Kula OpenStack and Kula Kubernetes opportunities. And then there's a third bit, which I know that Mike Spritzer has been talking about and working on, which is getting Kubernetes to work with some OpenStack components. And I think there's been a fair bit of discussion about this on the SIG networking list and also on the SIG-Openstack list. So they've gone ahead and teased this apart into three distinct project paths, for lack of a better description, and we'll be working on them differently. So lots and lots of buzz around Kubernetes and OpenStack, OpenStack and Kubernetes at the OpenStack Summit. People were pretty excited about it. So that's the SIG update. And this, yeah, I love the notes. OpenStack Summit may have eaten Ihor. Let's hope not, but we can get a longer update from him next week. All right, so we've got any questions on that? No? So let's go to notices real quick, and then we can do any sort of open discussion if anybody has anything to bring up. So Brendan had some notices about deprecation in docs and proposals.
Yeah, just a quick note. I was reminded by an email that I got today. There's a lot of proposals that got merged that are either no longer relevant or obsolete or didn't get worked on or whatever. So I'm going to take a run through and start sending some PRs to remove stuff. If I don't know how, I'll make sure that the original author of the proposal is, added into the PR to remove it. If anyone else is interested, I guess we could probably create a group if there's interest. I don't know if there will be, but I just want to, and if anyone wants to help, that would be great too. But there's a bunch of cruft.
Is particularly important.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of cruft in there that the example was somebody found like a workflow doc that I don't think we're going to work on. I don't think we're going to add workflow as an object to the Kubernetes API. And they were like, wait, I was going to do this. And you already, and I think it's important that we make sure that we realize that people are out there discovering our stuff via web search engines, and it's very, very hard for them to tell the difference.
Well,
I guess
the whole docs and proposals we need to clean up in general.
Yeah.
We talked about merging the two directories, clearly labeling the state of the proposal with whether it's not done, in progress, obsolete, etc. Obsolete things we should probably just delete. On workflow specifically, please sync up with Airtune. But yeah, and we've also talked about, for the docs, repo docs, putting some metadata in each doc about who the owner is, when it was last updated or reviewed, and things like that. I think the same thing would be useful for design docs.
Yeah, I think in the limit, we should probably try and automate this so that we if something hasn't had any changes in 6 months, and it's in proposals, we label it obsolete or something like that.
Yeah, nice. I agree with that.
So.
I think it'd be great to actually scrape metadata like that and generate some sort of index page for that design doc page. So, because right now it's an arbitrary alphabetical order, right? And there's definitely an order to those things, and there's definitely some that are more central and core than others. And so,
yeah, many of them should actually just be eliminated and converted to user docs. And most of this stuff is not actually about the design; it's what the feature does.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to go try and take a really coarse run through there and just delete things that seem obviously wrong. So.
Excellent. Well, if people want to help, we all know how to find Brendan, or if you don't, most of you should know how to find me or Brian, and we can point you to Brendan.
Or just send PRs. You don't have to just send PRs and CC me in. If you see something that you think should be removed, just send the PR to remove it.
Awesome. Thank you. The only other notice I have is, again, the May 5th meeting will be the Asia-friendly 5 p.m. Pacific time. And we will see how that goes. And if we want to continue with the first meeting of the month to be in Asia-friendly time, depending on how many people we get attending this one. Next week. Holy cow. Okay, beyond that, do we have any this is open mic time now because we've got extra time for the first time in a while. So what does anybody want to discuss? Have any topics? Throw them in chat and we can queue them.
Quick question, Sarah, on the meeting. The calendar invite I have on my calendar still has it at 10 a.m.
Still has the 10 a.m. Yes, that is something that I have to fix today because we have hit a peculiar limit with Google Calendaring, wherein when we have more than 200 invitees, we can actually no longer use groups. So I need to do a bit of rejiggering with this and rewrite a bit of documentation. And Mike, I will add you to the calendar item so that you are getting that as well. And yes, it will get moved this week. That's why I keep saying very carefully, don't forget it's at 5, but I will get it moved today, actually. How about that? Anybody else for open discussion? Or do we actually have one of the few early finishings of the community hangout? Joe, I know you and I need to sync up on features or efforts tracking, and we'll get that going again.
Yeah, and that overlaps with the stuff that Brendan's talking about organizing the like this stuff seems to sprawl. So we'll find a way to sort of carve off a piece and re-engage. Yep,
and the work that that Eric Toon presented last week, and so on. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm not seeing anybody hand raising, so I'm going to give you all back 27 minutes of your life. And we will see you at 5 p.m. next week.
See you, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks.